Good evening. My name is Marbella Muro. I'm the Director of Artistic Programs and Education at Self-Help Graphics. I want to welcome you once again to the Artist Lab in the studio series, which supports and promotes artists of color and seeks to maintain the creative community connected during this time of isolation and to reflect on our shared experience. First, we want to acknowledge that Self-Help Graphics resides in Apachangna, currently known as the Los Angeles neighborhood of Boyle Heights, where the original peoples of this territory, the Tangva, Chumash, and Tataviam, were first displaced. For a special edition of In the Studio, we've invited 4 artists featured in the Self-Help Graphics current exhibition. I'm going to share my screen. So here we are. We have Ariel joining us from here in Boyle Heights. We have Gabriela Claro from South LA, China Monforte in Monterey Park, correct, China? And Oscar Rodriguez in South LA. The group will talk about their work featured in the exhibition, their practice and impact, and the forefront issues they've been addressing in these last 6 months. The Very, very long day is a virtual group exhibition that features artists from our teaching artist cohort and advisory committee. The works in the show document their collective experiences during the COVID-19 pandemic and also talking about the different issues that have been happening in these last 6 or 7 months. So before we dive in, I'm going to stop sharing and talk about the works in the exhibition. I want to check in with everyone and just if you can share what you've been up to, how you've been coping with the quarantine, the multiple events that have led up to the momentum of Black Lives Matter and now the fires. So if anybody like to start. I'll start with Ariel. I have nobody speaking. I was going to pick on you, Ariel. And I'm going to pick on you because you've been going back and forth from Salinas and Boyle Heights and just talk about what's been going on.
That's so funny because I'm in Boyle Heights right now on First Street and there's a bike party that just went by. They're so loud. I was like, oh my God. They're still right there. I don't know if you would want to skip me. Can you hear them?
I can hear you.
You can hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. It's kind of amazing. I love LA so much. I've been here since I was 19 and already I've been back in Salinas since March because of the quarantine. And already even today, I'm just like, God, there's so many people. Then that's what I love about it. They're so active. It's really cool. Even, I mean, that's not good because of COVID. Sorry.
Well,
Yes, so it has been so good to go home. And oh my gosh. It's not, COVID is not good, but honestly, the break from work has been just life altering. Because when I was here in LA, I was working 4 jobs, and COVID, what it did to everyone was just make everyone stop. And it was just such an amazing time for reflection. I hadn't been home with my mom in so long, and I just spent so much time with her, and our relationship really grew from it. And then to be back in my community in Salinas, I kind of had a lot of realizations. I did a lot of community work in LA. I've just always been drawn to that kind of work and activism and art, the youth and everything. And then moving home, I just realized how much my community there is struggling. Um, and yeah, they have a lot going on there, and they need a lot of support. And so I kind of just shifted my entire priorities in moving home, just realizing that like the whole time I've been here, 10 years in LA, and the experiences I've gained here, I can really lend that now to my home. And Salinas is a place that doesn't even have like an art store or any kind of art programs or anything, and I grew up there. And I remember what that is like, and moving to LA and being surrounded by other artists and so many resources was like amazing for me. And I have real motives to contribute that way in my community there. I have like 40 cousins in Salinas. I have a big family. Um, and they're all younger than me, and I care a lot. And it was good to go home and kind of reassess what I feel like I should be doing with my uh, time and like efforts. And I'm so grateful to my experiences here in self-help graphics, especially for just knowing. I use it as example all the time to people I talk to about what you guys have done in your community, and the people that I've met, like Gabby and China and Oscar, and like the talent and the skills and the knowledge. Like, really, it's inspiring, and I really want to just help others grow in that way however I can, especially young people. It's really inspiring.
China,
I think I talked a lot. I'm good.
China, do you want to share?
Yeah, definitely. And I definitely want to piggyback off of that. What Ariel said is like these times are so challenging for everybody, and yet, it's the most important time to really be there and support others and support your community. And something that I've been reflecting a lot on is it's a saying that's kind of like you can't pour from an empty cup, and so it kind of means you can't support others unless you kind of support yourself first. And so that's something that I've been reflecting a lot on during these times, is like, trying to get my priorities in order, trying to, work on my goals, and just really that inner reflection, like you said, and trying to balance all of that. I mean, it's hard. It's hard for everybody. So, our communities need support, and I think that's kind of like the big thing for everyone right now is, how are you feeling? How can you take care of yourself? How can you take care of others? There's a lot of grief happening right now. I think not just with like Black Lives Movement and the loss of lives from COVID, but also the environment, our earth, all these shifts that we're seeing right now. And yeah, it's really just kind of like riding that wave.
Yeah.
Doing my best. Yeah.
Oscar?
Hey, so yeah, I think right now, personally, I feel that everything that's going on, and ever since the pandemic, you just kind of um, we've been exposed to a face that we have, like we've always known it's been there, but now it's so overt. And it for me, it makes me feel so helpless, because like what can I do? What, as an artist, as a person of color, as an immigrant, like what is it that I can contribute? How can I, like we've seen this before, and like there's things that we've tried in the past, and it just nothing ever happens. So seeing like all these like movements, the protests, the overt racism, and then still dealing with what's going on with COVID, and then just uh even that becomes so political, and right now I'm at a point where I'm like overwhelmed by just you know everyone trying to make a like their own argument, their own point, when I've lived through this before, like when I was a kid, because like I grew up in the Pete Wilson era where, it was so there was also overt racism. I remember when I was a little kid, my parents took me to one of those protests, because they were trying to, I believe it was like a bill that they were trying to pass here in California, and I think it did pass, and it was where undocumented people weren't able to get a driver's license anymore. Like they weren't able to get IDs or anything like that. And I remember I was a little kid. I went to one of those rallies, and I like I you know we went to downtown and everything, to go protest at City Hall, and then you just see like all these people with American flags and all that, and just screaming, "Get out of here! We don't want you here." You know what I'm saying? Like it was a weird traumatic experience for me because when we came to this country, we came on the 4th of July, and it, to me, like, just seeing that and seeing it now, it kind of awakened so many things that as a kid I happened to live through. And and everything that's going on even recently in my own city, with the two police officers that got shot. And then like there's protests here in Linwood outside of the St. Francis Medical Center, and again, that also becomes very political. You either have to be on this side or you have to be on that side, and it's just very overwhelming, during these times.
Yeah. And Gabby?
I'm kind of like, I can relate to Ariel a lot. I've been spending a lot of time with my mom. um, I've been home a lot. Self-help is closed, so I kind of have nowhere to go. Yeah, I guess just like being home, it kind of like gives me like the time to have these conversations with my mom. Like in the beginning of the uprisings, we were like having these conversations a lot. And in the beginning of the uprisings, we all caught COVID. The entire house was like, we were all sick. Um, so it's been like a lot. My dad got like pneumonia through that, and now like with the fires, it's like really affecting his breathing. So it's just been like super scary, the whole thing.
I I think with it, like with all the horrific things that are happening, some beautiful things are happening too. And I think we need to focus on those things to be able to push forward, right? Like you said, spending time with family. I mean, I think that one, because you get so busy caught up having 4 jobs. I remember having 4 jobs at one point, and just hustling and hustling. And I feel like that still hasn't happened, but there's more emphasis of like, we need to stop. We just need to stop because we're already in danger of getting sick because of COVID, but because of the stress, the stress of people of color is more elevated now. We need to pay better attention to ourselves. Um, so I'm going to talk about the exhibition, the very, very, very long day, and the title came as we all know. It came from the idea that time is sort of obsolete now. It's every day feels like the same, and like now that we say like it's been since March, which is what 5 or 6 months since COVID. The COVID here and the quarantine. We've been in quarantine, and it just seems like ages ago. But at the same time, it feels like yesterday. And just so many things have happened, and so many good things have happened, and so many horrific things have happened. And so we invited you and 20 other artists that are part of the self-help graphics teaching cohort to create, just basically use your canvas as just like let it out. And so I'm going to ask Trina to talk about your work in the exhibition. I'm going to put your image on the screen, and then we'll talk about your work. Okay. Okay, load up. Okay, here we are. Can everyone see it? Yeah, okay. So China, if you can talk about your work, it's called Choose Your Future. From my understanding, it's a repurposed banner, basically encouraging or promoting people to join the LAPD. Here we have the once an image of the front side or one side of your banner, and then on the other larger image is the installation shot showing a reverse image of the work. You know, it's interesting to see how you listed the names of the victims on one side only and not on the other side, although we know that the names can fill up this banner entire back and the two sides and multiple more banners. So if you can talk about the scale and the importance of the scale that you talked about in your statement, and actually where you found this banner.
Yeah, sorry, I froze earlier.
It's okay. Good.
Yeah, so this piece called Choose Your Future obviously was named after the text that's right on that banner, but more so using that as a kind of a direct statement to really the systems that the police are kind of playing right now. And you know, as we talk about like Black Lives Matter, it's been something that's really important right now. And so this banner I actually found in the gutter one day, probably, I want to say like 3 or 4 years ago. I found it in the gutter. It used to be a part of this really large cycling community, and this type of material is really good for like backpacks and other types of, you know, just recycling. So I picked it up, threw it in my car, and when I had opened it, I realized it was an advertisement for LAPD. And I instantly felt like, okay, at some point I'm going to use this for art. And you know, this exhibition came around, and I felt like, you know, also I should mention that the piece, the banner itself is 8 feet tall. It's huge. This is probably the biggest piece that I've ever worked on. I mean, most of my work is photography, zines, collaging, screen printing. So this is something that was kind of a first for me. And you know, I really wanted to honor all these victims of police brutality and you know, shed some light on that. And it's an issue that isn't just in LA, but kind of globally. And as people of color, we're the communities that suffer the most from police brutality. So yeah, it's really about an open dialogue about that. And while there have been activists that have been working on this for a really long time, I mean, going back to Rodney King, you know, we're seeing this now more than ever with the pandemic. People actually had time because they were off work to really pay attention to stand up for what they believe in. And I think that's kind of part of what led to the uprisings really gathering momentum. But yeah, it's, you know, suffice to say that there's a backside that's empty. I mean, since I made this piece, there have been 2 more killings. And like going back to what Oscar said, I mean, in Linwood, and it's horrible. I mean, it's really horrible. And I don't think that, you know, art is enough to even propel that. Like, there needs to be some serious change. I don't think that these systems are really meant to be upheld. They just don't work. So it's kind of a little bit on that.
I was going to ask the group, but later, but I think this is right now with your statement right now is something that I'd like to ask all of you. It's like, you just said like, art only can do so much, but what is the role of art during these, in addressing you personally as artist? What do you think the role of art is in order to push forward these messages and the fight?
For me, I don't know if you're opening it up, but I'll just...
I'm opening it up because, like I said, it's something that I wanted to ask to the whole group, but you brought it up, so I thought it was appropriate to do it. And so we'll start with you, and if anybody wants to chime in, please do so.
Yeah, I feel like art will always be a great tool for communicating. It's meant for that purpose, and that's really its biggest asset is communication. So it can serve as a tool in this fight and in activism, but ultimately, I think profiting off art, it doesn't really lend itself to any kind of movement ultimately.
Anybody else that would like to chime in?
I think China has a really strong point about communication, using art as a vehicle of that communication. It's a voice. It's the voice of the artist, and oftentimes it's a voice of the community as a whole. As a you could be an artist that does political art, and you could use that to kind of send a message, a visual message to whoever is willing to listen, to ask questions, but I think China, she was spot on, when she said it's communication. That's what I believe that's what it serves as well, communication.
Oh, sorry.
No, please, Ariel.
There was, I remember specific, oh man, it sucks I can't remember who the quote was by, but there was just like a quote that it was like, now is the time for artists. Like, this is our time to communicate, like Trina said, but also to like represent like our people and our experiences, and like to really, like, this is our time to document like what is happening. And it does more for people than I think we as artists realize, because there's been times, and like you said, Marvea, like so many bad things that it's just piling on at this point. You'll have like a week of maybe you'll get to a place of hope and like optimism, and then something else will happen. Like for me, the fires really broke my heart. I felt strong right before that happened, and then I was like completely defeated by that, and it took some time to come back. But every time my friends and my community and people I'm close to will tell me like, Ariel, this is like the time we need you right now, because we need to like feel that expression and like have something to like relate to. And this year, for some reason, I feel that my work before has been purposeful, but like this year especially, I've felt more purpose in what I'm doing than any time before. So I don't know if I hope that we all feel that way, because I think it is important. We're kind of not dormant, but like we get caught up in this grind and the capitalism and working, and it's the hardest for artists to make money. And then you get into these moments of life where you're just like, it's not even about any of that at all. It's about people and connection and expression and like connecting. Yeah, those kinds of things. So that's what I wanted to contribute to that. And
So now we're going to go and see, let me see if I can. I thought I had, okay. Sorry, let me see. Okay, Actually, I want to go into to Gabby first before I go into Ariel's work. Gabby, the title of your work is very ironic, given that the portraits here of Tamir Rice and Ayana Jones, correct? You know, they don't really have they don't have a future anymore since they passed away. And I'd like you to talk about definitely your choice of color, like this black and black. This is very light compared to, I lightened it so we can see it, but it's very dark and it's rich, and all of these they look like stars here. It's all glitter. So we can talk about your work and also your choice of the title, which I just I don't know. It's a very beautiful work. Um, can you please talk about it a little more, Gabby?
So I initially did it. I was thinking of doing like Ayana Jones and Breonna Taylor first to make it like a really like woman-centered piece. But then like as the uprisings were happening, I like really found myself having a lot of these conversations with my nephews and my nieces. I'm a tia. I'm probably the favorite. But I don't know. I just found myself they're on TikTok, you know, and a lot of the TikToks at the time were like Black Lives Matter TikToks, and like they wanted to talk about it, and um like at times I feel like they were even listening more than like the adults were, you know. Um and I don't know. I just like thinking about how like youth are affected by this, and like if they listen to like our harmful language, they could go to school and like just, you know, like communicate wrongfully with their like black oh my god, I'm blanking out, sorry, like with their with black students in their class, you know, with their black classmates. There you go. So I kind of base it off that, and then the my intention was to like have it be something that like you had to stare at, you know, like to have it like hard to see. But then when we were trying to take a picture, I thought it was a little too hard to see. It kind of, I decided to do black on black because there's this artist called Buddy and he has a song called Black, and that's literally the lyrics, black on black. Like he just repeats that. But yeah.
Can you talk about your process? I know you shared with me that this was your first time embroidering.
Yeah. So first I basically just colored, I painted the whole canvas black. And then I sketched out the letters, and then I had a jar of glitter, so I knew I wanted to use that. And then I just started embroidering the portraits, and it's funny because we always make fun of my mom, because she's also like super crafty, and whenever we're like making like I'm sorry, is it too loud?
No.
Okay. When
Good.
we're making like art related things, like she's always just like staring at us and like waiting for us to like mess up so she could like come help us out. But like during this process, I feel like she like even that brought up conversation, you know, like quién son, like de quién son estas fotos, and I would explain to her like the story, and like I would work in the living room and people that would walk in, they'd be like, who's that? So yeah.
And can you talk a little bit about that more? Like those conversations, how did they go? When you talked about like who are these young, who are these in the portrait? What did your family say? And did that lead up to more serious conversation? Not more serious conversations, I'm sorry, but awkward conversations?
Yeah, all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Since the uprising started, I feel like this was like very inspired by like so much, like I would hop on Facebook and there'd be like so much like anti-black shit, you know, like it's like no secret that Mexican culture is very anti-black. Um, so I feel like I don't know, I just had to like take it upon myself to like reply to those posts. And then I don't know, I feel like a lot of times it's just like they don't, my parents don't want me to like be that person, you know, like trying to start shit. So that's usually how it would start. um, but then it would just end up just like evolving into like my parents actually listening to me, which I'm super grateful for, you know, like not a lot of people uh, have that. But I feel like my mom especially has been like super like supportive of these ideas. Now she's like now we'll watch like documentaries together, you know, and she'll like actually like listen.
That's really beautiful and courageous, Gabby. You know, I wonder if anybody else has had that experience of these awkward, not awkward, uncomfortable conversations with family who have shared negative or racist comments. But I think this is because of the moment. I mean, it's forcing us to internalize who our own actions and our family's actions are like before. I think because I know for myself, we got like a tío always making those negative comments and to like, yeah, no le hagas caso, don't pay attention to him, blah, blah, blah. You move on. But Gabby, you're saying, you took that stand. Like, no, you don't say that. We got to talk about it.
Yeah.
And that takes a lot of courage. Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead. Were you going to say something? I'm sorry.
No, I think I'm done.
Great. Thank you so much. Okay, so now we will go to Ariel. Now, Ariel, your drawing, it's quite a large drawing, and there's a lot of content, and it's everything, just I mean a fraction of what we're dealing with, right? And like the fires are missing in there.
Yeah.
And it's titled State of the Nation. But so there's a lot of things that are very reminiscent to the works that China is addressing, the issues that both China and Gabby are addressing. But I'd like you to start with the image in the center of the farm workers surrounded by monarchs. And if you can start talking about that and the work that you're doing in relation to this drawing.
Yeah. Well, I am from a farming community. That's how a lot of our families, mine and my friends' families, like, they come from Mexico, and that's the work that they get out there is working in the fields, and it's really intense, hard labor, and we all have this really strong connection with that work. And it's really interesting because Salinas is a valley agriculture community. We grow like the world's lettuce. We're known for lettuce, but there's all these like little towns surrounding us, like Watsonville, strawberries, Gilroy, garlic, Castroville, artichoke, all of that. And then there's tourist communities like closer to the bay that basically make a lot of money with that industry. And so moving home, it was just hard. I don't know, realizing that like the backbone of the entire economy of that whole county is the farm workers, and the conditions that they work in, and the money that they get paid, and all the things that they have to go through to do that work, and how they support the entire county. But they don't have a lot of support themselves, is what I'm learning as I move home. anyways, and especially the fires was really hard to see them out there working in the smoke. COVID was bad enough. COVID really went through the farming community. Like those families were the ones who were affected the most because they had to work and they didn't have proper protection, and they were also in fear of they're treated so disposable. Like they're so like it's based out of fear, like from their employers, that they won't have work and housing. I just learned so much since moving home, honestly, about our community there. And so anyways, yes, it was important for me to include that in the work because that's like part of where I come from. And also and Salinas is a bubble, and coming from LA, I was lucky we're kind of tapped in on a global spectrum in the city. Like we're tapped into like these more broader conversations. And so I just felt like I was experiencing a lot, seeing a lot going on. And I did feel like really helpless. Like, what can I do? I can't do anything. And I realized like there's a lot I can do. So I started doing this like art in the park thing for people. It started with my cousins, actually, my little cousins. I'm so used to spending my time with youth and kids teaching, and I hadn't for a few months. I was like disconnected because of quarantine. And I finally went and saw my family and my cousins. We had all quarantined enough. And my cousins just were, like you were saying, Gabby, like my cousins are young, like 10, 12, 14. Like they were so interested in like what's happening in the news and they wanted to talk about it. And my family on both sides is more just like, I think in our culture too, it's like, don't like cause problems, right? Like don't draw attention to yourself, don't speak up. So I think that's how my family has always handled it, which is like, like hush hush, or like they push it aside and no one talks about it. But of course I talk too much, and like I would come home and my cousins, they are asking me, and so I have the privilege of being more honest with them than I would with my students. So we had some really good conversations about the world and our history and what's happening, and very real. And I realized like, wow, like they need so much support. And then so I started just posting up in this park. It's a small town. You couldn't do this in LA. But like I would be in the park. I got donations, and I got all kinds of donations for poster making. So like anyone who wanted to attend a protest or something could come and have materials to just like express themselves. And we had a big turnout. And I even did some like live printing for shirts and stuff. And it was just such a positive experience for so many people. I think people being in quarantine, we need that like connection with other people, and to be able to, it was beautiful. Like I would set up tables, social distancing, I would just put in all this work. And then the best part of it was when I would step away and just watch the community. Like everyone's working on something, people are having these really awesome like conversations. So yeah, it was important for me to include that in the work.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And no, and in your statement, you wrote that the work is meant to be read like a newspaper. Can you talk more about that?
Yeah, I mean, that is funny. No, it's not funny. Well, the newspaper is interesting. It's my work. It was a really good experience to draw that. I love to draw big, and I love rendering and all that, and like composing it. I had a very profound week doing that work, and I'm grateful that I had the time, because the thing that I feel I've been working for and fighting for is just time to make art, and like finally have all this time that I can really dive into some stuff. But the newspaper is interesting because I was there with my cousins, and I was raised by a single mom, really tough single mom. And I was at my aunt's house with my little cousins, and I brought art supplies, and they were all making like Black Lives Matter posters. And I set up my little iPad and I put on the news, and it was like something about Trump. And I like opened a beer, and I was like sitting in my like this big chair with the iPad and the news and a beer, and I was like, oh my god, I'm a dad right now. That's all day. My cousins are all working and they're all responding to the news. They're like, what does he mean when he says that? And that's messed up, and like stuff like that. But a big influence on me was my grandpa, and he was very into the newspaper, and we have clippings, and it's just like this kind of nostalgic aesthetic for me, and the opportunity to create something that could contribute in that way, especially the news is so dictated, it's so like curated by like whatever news source it is. So it was also an opportunity to highlight some things that I feel like were being missed and were really important and like at the forefront of the conversations I was having and with people in our communities, and like what people were feeling and being affected by. And Black Lives Matter, the police brutality, the lives lost, the lives that are continued to that we're continuing to see like brutalized and like lost is so important. And also the things going on with the ICE detention centers, and just it's just like we need this like reckoning, you know, in our culture, in our society. Like the farm workers, the way that they're treated and compensated and all of that, like that needs to change. We can't live like that anymore. It's not good. You like I'm just like, we need to change. Whatever, it's just like, it just seems like we can never go back to the way things were. And I hope we don't, because it's bad.
So before we move on to Oscar, I want to apologize for my bad engineering skills. I'm like looking at you guys talking while I had just your drawing up. And I was going to switch back and forth, but so I apologize to the viewers. But either way, we were looking at a beautiful drawing of Ariel while Ariel was speaking. So I'm going to go back to share my monitor to look at Oscar's painting, and then I'll switch back so we can look at him to speak. Okay. And here we are. So Oscar, there is, I mean, the work is so rich here and bright, but it's like we all know, the digital screen does not give justice to your work. It's just breathtaking, and just it just takes up a whole wall. You know, it's not a big painting, but its presence is just, you know, it's so strong. I want to talk about it's clear that we see, like, you have this very specific line in the middle with this young girl, and it shows the division within their country, and with civil rights leaders, and then you have the white supremacists and the police, and obviously Trump. Can you talk about the work, and also just the way your painting is, the composition?
Yeah, of course. And thank you for those kind words. It means a lot. So yeah, I mean, like what I was talking about earlier, you know, just when this is the most political painting I've ever done, and it's one of those pieces that I was kind of like how far do I want to push it, you know? Like how opinionated do I want to be, or do I want people to interpret it the way that they want to interpret it, you know? Because I'm really not like, I'm leaving it open for people to just see it and take, you know, take whatever you want to take from it, without me trying to, you know, like I'm documenting you know, current events, you know. But the way that that I approached this painting, and the um it stems back to kind of like all these things, just that I'm seeing on TV, that I'm seeing right now, and the innocence of this young girl, um who, as when I was talking about it earlier, it kind of reflects of what I went through as a kid, you know, like going to a rally and then seeing all these people kind of yelling at my parents, yelling at other people, you know, we don't want you here, you're not welcome here, while holding American flags. um you know, I grew up in a family that they've always taught me, like, you have to be grateful for this country, what it has given you, you know, like, uh the American dream. No other country could ever give you the opportunities that you have here. Um, and then I have family members that, you know, they look at the American flag, and you know, they respect it, you know. But I think that as a kid growing up, um, you know, being that, you know, at an early age, I was kind of exposed to the animosity of people. Like every time I see an American flag, it's always like like I always see it being held by negative people, you know, people yelling at me, or people yelling at you know, at our gente, or you know. So I decided to, you know, when I did this, I'm like, okay, well, I want to have, you know, the fight that or the struggles that are happening right now. It's like mirroring the civil rights movement. You know, we have Chavez, you know, who kind of everybody knows, you know, from uh, the Latino community. And then you have, you know, Martin Luther King, who he's an icon, you know, and he's, you know, pretty much single-handedly uh, took it upon himself to try to make change in this country, and not only in this country, but in the world, you know, in terms of equality. And we still see the same struggles that they had before. We still see them now. um I wanted it to be, you know, the colors, I wanted them to be intense, you know, with the cool colors, um just popping out at you, you know, kind of, um the, you know, by choosing the cool colors, it really makes the reds pop. And you know, you see the red color, and you know, it just draws you to it, you know. And of course, you know, if you've taken color theory, you know that red just, you know, it's caution, danger, all those kind of things. um and you know, you have the police building that got burned down, and the protesters. I just wanted to include and document everything that's going on. And um and yeah, that was pretty much my process. The title of the piece is called Collapse and Rebirth, almost as if like we're seeing kind of like a collapse in kind of like what we used to know about society. And it's a rebirth, like what, you know, how can this country move forward, like what will we do to change the course of, you know, like to correct itself. And this little girl is holding you know, a little pot with flowers, kind of like a rebirth in hope, a rebirth in innocence, um you know, just a rebirth in human, just human emotions. um but yeah.
Um, I want to just thinking about everyone's comments and on all of your great work. I still hear a lot of optimism as artists, and it's great to hear that all of you, each of you said like, how can I help? What more can I do? And while you're also struggling yourselves, whatever, you know, the the barriers that you are individually facing, you know, but you're still very much thinking about others. And I want to, with that said, I want to go on to the next question. By I'll first repeat what Ariel mentioned: fighting for time to make art. So during this COVID quarantine and all of the things that have been happening, can you, and this is open to everyone, I'd like everyone to talk about, actually, I'm going to start with Gabby. If we'll go around the room and talk about how have you made time to make, how have you made time to make art, or how the this quarantine has impacted your work, in good or bad, or how it's maybe the narrative of your work, and also talk about your art practice, so that the exhibitions, the works that we saw right now in the works that we saw in the exhibition are just a little glimpse of your practice. So if you can talk a little more about your practice, and again, how the COVID has impacted your work.
Mm-hmm. I feel like it has impacted mostly screen printing. Self-help is closed, and I kind of don't have like access to like those big machines. So and screen printed.
I think you're telling
You're right. Open it up just for me. um, but thankfully I could like paint, and I've been beading a lot. I recently hosted a raffle to money for, they go by the Black X Collective on Instagram. And it's like a collective to bring resources to trans Black women or trans Black folks. And I ended up raising over $400, so that was kind of fun. So
what's
it's
that
like
group
I want
called?
to keep going. What was that?
What's the
What was
group
that?
called again? The group
Oh,
that you raised.
Black X Collective on Instagram.
Okay.
Mm. And I'm also currently it's in the work, but I designed some stickers with Arleni, which is also in the BMAS. And we're gonna try to raise some funds for future, which is also to help Black trans folks get housing and just like mattresses, necessities.
For the same group.
It's called Futures Collective something. I think I may be it might be different. But yeah.
And so those are the two projects we're working on right now.
Yeah.
Do you want to? I know we see it on your name, but do you want to share your media handles so that people?
Oh, sorry. I basically use Instagram mostly right now, but it's tragical. Instead of an A, it's a 4. Yeah. My online shop is coming back soon.
No. Let us know when. We'll post it. On Oscar, if you can talk about your work on your art practice and anything you'd like to share of the work that you've been working recently, or something you'd like to share with us.
Yeah. So I'm an illustrator, so I've been doing illustration, since I was a little kid, just like everybody. But yeah, I've been illustrating, I've been drawing since I was a little kid. My dad, he's in the fashion industry. He's a cutter, so he does women's clothing. So as a little kid, my dad used to draw all the fashion, like the dresses and stuff like that. And on his off time, he would always just kind of draw and kind of show me how to draw. So, since I was a little kid, he's always bought me coloring books and stuff like that. But eventually, I started collecting comic books in elementary school. And I collected comic books, which I still have, all the way up until high school. I did editorial illustration for newspapers when I was in high school. Um, I I actually got published when I was in high school. I did a piece for for this youth paper, a newspaper called LA Youth, and I got published there. I got an award from the LA Times because of that piece, and it got published in a Scholastic New York Times magazine. So that was pretty cool when I was being a kid, um and I went to art school and everything. So I'm the kind of person that I love to experiment with everything. I do digital art, I do graphic design, I do watercolor paintings, I do oil paintings, and I also do business cards, banners, flyers, screen printing, magazines. Right now, I'm currently just doing a whole bunch of face masks for people, for clients. So I've been like, ever since the whole quarantine, I accidentally just happened to be doing face masks, and now that's like my full-time thing. I'm like doing creating designs and just selling them every day. We have like 30 orders, so we're doing a lot of those. In terms of finding time to do art, that one's a tricky one because I've never had time to do art, and even though that's kind of my profession, um I have so many projects lined up. I have like uh, a comic book that I got to work on for a client. um uh I got to do a couple of paintings for for others. um but I've always just been swamped with thankfully with just work, commissioned work. People want me to do a
That's
banner
art.
for.
It's
Huh?
art. It's
Yeah,
art.
it's all art. But the kind of art that I want to do is painting, oil, all the kind of like, just I imagine myself, hopefully when I'm in like my 70s, I'll just retire and just paint. Like no more, just paint, just Norman Rockwell myself, and that's it, just uh but um but yeah, during the whole quarantine, I did find a couple of projects, especially with self-help graphics, doing a couple of video demos, that it's been really cool because I just clear out my whole schedule and just paint. And these are some of the paintings that I've done. This one is from the Census watercolor piece, which you will find on the Self of Graphics website, right? And it's my whole process of painting this. I also did this painting. It was a portrait watercolor painting of, I believe her name is Yanitza, right? Yanitza.
Yeah.
Really
Hmm.
that I got to do this watercolor piece. I also digital illustrations. These are a couple of prints that I've done before. I think that I did this one last year for the LA Fair. But right now I've been like spending some of my free time doing some prints. So like just uh, I have a couple of printers, so I'm able to just produce some prints. So just kind of like uh, push myself forward. What can I do with my art?
Yeah.
Um, and but hopefully, what I ultimately would love to do is just do storyboarding. That I love doing storyboarding for music videos and stuff like that, and maybe even do more video demos and just keep adding them onto my YouTube channel and collaborating with self-help and creating some more content.
Well, we have work for you, Oscar. Video demos are the future or the now.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Oscar. Oh, and a social media handle.
Oh yeah, it's Guess Art. So it's Rodriguez, Guez underscore ART. So Guess Art.
And China. So I'll just repeat the question. Just talk about what how your work has changed or just been influenced by the things that have been going on right now. And if you want to share anything that you've been, talk about your practice, and then also if you want to share anything that you're working on.
I think in terms of changes, definitely less screen printing, like Abby said. And I feel like a lot of, like, due to the loss of gigs, I kind of was able to pivot a lot of my work. And so I started focusing a lot on other projects, which has been cool because it's busy, but then at the same time, like, where do I find time to make art for myself? So that's always a question. But yeah, I think, like, my main practice is web design, but I also do zines. I'm like a overall artist, like Oscar. Graphic design, zine, screen printing, collaging, at the beginning of quarantine or closer to the protests, I worked on these posters and got them reso printed. And so a lot of art was kind of changing in terms of the message. And I would say that, you know, the art that I make is really rooted in my perspective culturally. So like, you know, this is a zine that I released last year from a trip to Mexico City. It's a photo zine. I'd love to share some photos if I can share my screen.
Sure. Do you need permission,
Yeah.
Alexa?
It should work, China. Give it a try.
That's funny because you said Alexa and everyone's gonna think
Alexa?
yeah,
you-
it's like a real person. Alexa.
It is a real person, the OG Alexa.
Okay. Perfect. So this is my website. I do web design. Shameless self-promotion there. But you know, I made the site for this exhibition, the virtual exhibition. But these are just some of my photos that I've taken over the years, just to give you like an idea of my style or my perspective. These are a mix of digital and film photos. And I've been, yeah, a lot of folks don't know this, but yeah, I'm a photographer, and I have been since I was like 13, 14. But yeah, that's kind of a little preview. And yeah, I've just really been focusing a lot on my web design business and kind of all of the changes and the needs of everybody else. I mean, everything going digital and online, it's been a lot. So also working on the Day of the Dead zine that's going to come out very soon. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Self-help.
China did design the current exhibition's website, which is the very, very, very long day exhibition. It came out beautifully. So you can check out our website at selfhelpgraphics.com so you can see her work. And China, do you want to give people your social media handle?
Yeah, and thank you. So my Instagram handle is china.design, and I'm also on Facebook very rarely, but you can find me at the same handle.
And then Ariel.
Hey, I just want to say, you guys, that's beautiful work that you're doing. And those photographs and the website is so impressive. And Oscar, like, it's amazing. My favorite thing about being an artist is meeting other artists and like different practices. And there's like no way I could do what you do. Like, I'm so impressed. I get like,
thank you.
Really?
Humbled.
Too.
I'm very disciplined and talented. That's
Yeah.
super cool. Yes. So my art practice, it's been good, like, because like we said before, all the work I did, like all my employers, the whole purpose was just to buy myself time to work. So when I wasn't working, I was still working on my personal projects, and being home and having this time has been really great. Like
You're primarily a printmaker, correct, Ariel?
yes, I have a printing press, and it's been a journey for me and my press for the past like 5 years. I started outside in my mom's house, and then I moved it to a shed, and then I was in a garage, and now it's on a patio. And I've just slowly been building it up and investing. And so right now I'm working with my friend in Salinas, and we have it set up and we're printing, and it's good for both of us. Like, he's a printmaker as well, and we don't have the same resources in Salinas, so I come down to LA like once a month to like get supplies and things like that. I've been able to like make a lot of really good connections out here and resources. I go to Retech, thank you China. Like shout out Joe. He always helps me. But it's really cool. Like my friend there, he's a dad, he has a family, he's been trying. And so now it's really nice I just am trying really hard to build something there, like an art community. There's obviously, it already exists. But it's kind of amazing. Like, sorry, I don't mean to ramble, but when I went to college, and I went to college with a bunch of kids who were like groomed as artists and had loads of resources their entire life, coming from Salinas, that was a big like shock to me. But it's something that I really value is that when you are a young artist or young person, whatever, like, and you have to like dig for anything, like you have so much more like, I don't know, creativity, like passion, like drive. Like in school, I couldn't stop coming up. Soul, yeah, like I can't stop making art. I will never be in a position where I'm like, oh, I don't know what to do. Like that's forever. And so having this time has been very good for that. And I'm taking full advantage. Like I'm working, like every day I'm just making new connections. I'm talking to like city council members, people who are working in the district, community programs. Like I'm like, hey guys, I just came back from LA. Let me tell you everything that Self-Help Graphic does. And it's really inspiring. People are like getting inspired and motivated, and I'm very hopeful. I care so much about the place I come from, and I'm so connected to LA now. I just think I'll be back and forth. That's what I tell everyone. I'm just like, I have to come at least once a month. I just do. It's always been like that. I'll do that 6-hour drive any day. I don't know. I think that answers the question.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Alexa, do we have any questions?
We don't have any questions from the audience.
Rude. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
It's okay. I mean, I think that everyone is inspired and in awe by all of your work. I was trying to find this picture, a good picture of the screenshot we took of everyone when we had our first meeting before our, I think I have it right here. I'm going to share it. I'm going to share my screen quickly. Of our BMAS team that we took while we had our meeting about the very, very, very long day. And there are a few people missing here, but I want to not only thank all of you for participating in this exhibition, but I also just thank every single one in this picture and the ones not in the picture for really coming together and putting such a beautiful, your hearts out in the work that you created to help make this exhibition such a beautiful exhibition. For conversations that I had with some of the artists, it gave them this project to work on when they weren't feeling motivated or inspired, just really beaten by everything that had been going on. So I feel very honored to have worked with all of you and for the contributions that everyone gave to this exhibition. And with that, I want to thank everyone for joining us. We won't be having an artist lab in October because yes, as China said, we're busy right now in the middle of planning for the Day of the Dead. It will be virtual. We will have our partnership with Grand Park. We will be sending out info in the coming week, I believe, or in the coming week. So, you know, hopefully you're signed up to our email list so you can get all of that information. And our next artist lab will be on Monday, November 2nd, with the curator and artist Sandy Rodriguez, who did the commemorative print for the Day of the Dead. So again, thank you, China, Gabby, Ariel, and Oscar, so much for everything and for really sharing your work and yourselves with us tonight.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you too so much.
Thank you. Good
And
night.
you too, Alexa. Thank you.